Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning and welcome to Story Time. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining me. I hope you're ready for this wonderful story that we have to read together today. This one is called Wings. It is written and illustrated by Christopher Myers, and we're reading this one with permission of Scholastic Inc. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy it. Good morning to you, and I hope you are well wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us in Story Time today. I am glad you're here with me. Good morning to you, and how are you doing? Thank you for being here. Yes, indeed, Wings by Christopher Myers, and read with permission of Scholastic Inc. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm falling back on Chronicle today. Thank you so much for joining in. How are you doing? Where are you joining us from today? Thank you so much for joining in, and who is joining in with you? Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with Story Time. Good morning to you, and how are you? Get comfortable, get cozy. We have a beautiful book to read together. And yes, indeed, if you are in the Pacific Northwest, we are thinking of you, and hopefully the weather begins, the temperature begins to go down. The temperatures begin to go down, and it is not too crazy. And of course, please, if you find those links, those places that are offering, like cooling stations, do send them to me so that we can share them out, and let people know where to go for help. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you, and how are you doing today? Terry, how are you today? And of course, Abraham, I hope you're enjoying yourself, and you say you're ready for today's story. Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much for joining in, Abraham. Welcome to Story Time. Good morning to you, and of course, good morning to you, Terry, as well. In Florida, Betty Graydon, how are you doing today? Welcome to Story Time. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon to you out in Florida. Thank you so much for being here with us. In Harvard, Massachusetts, how are you doing today? Henry, and of course, Marietta. And you say, oh, it is sunny out in Harvard. Well, good to know. Thank you so much for joining in. Glad you're enjoying it, and I hope you're enjoying your afternoon snack as well. And we hope our friends are staying cool. Absolutely. Well, Henry, I love you too, buddy. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Needed to hear that. Thank you for being here, and of course, for putting a smile on my face. Thank you so much. Good morning to you. How are you doing? And of course, Marietta, how are you doing today as well? Thank you. Good morning to you, Carrie, out in Sacramento. How are you doing today? And of course, joining in with Lomani Lee. How are you today? Say the cousins are gone. Well, I hope you had a wonderful time. There's a book called The Relatives Came. You should read that one. It is a good one indeed for when our loved ones come to visit, and of course then they have to go back to their lives. Thank you so much for joining in. And it says still here to enjoy wonderful stories. Well, I am glad, and thank you for introducing us to the cousins. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning to you, Lomani Lee, and of course Carrie out in Sacramento. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning to you, Doreen. How are you? Doreen Natalie, how are you? you doing today? Thank you for being here out in Oceanside, California. Thank you for being here. And say, on your way to Visalia, on the move. Well, thank you. Hugs right back at you. Thank you so much for joining in. Yes, indeed, the beauty of story time. You can join us from wherever, whenever. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. Ellen Edwards in Chicago. Good morning to you. How are you doing? Good to see you as always. Thank you so much for being here. A big hug for you, Ellen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning to you. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining in out in Washington. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you? Amanda, Baby, Beer, Grandpa, Dennis, Grandma, Cindy. How are you today? Thank you for joining us. Yes, Seattle in the house. And I hope it is a little cooler today. Thank you so much for joining in. Glad you're here with us. Loving it. Thank you. And of course, a big welcome to you, Grandpa Dennis, and of course, Grandma Cindy. Yes, indeed. Baby Bia, it's your duty. Keep them focused. Let them listen into story time. No naps until then. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning to you. Awesome. Henry getting all the love right there. Thank you so much for sharing in. And yes, spreading that love. Thank you, Amanda. Henry, I hope you get that. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning to you, Chriselle, out in Long Beach. How are you doing today? Of course, with Rocco, Clay, and Great Grandpa June. Then you say it's overcast in Long Beach, kind of humid too. Well, I hope you are well. I hope it's not as hot as the Pacific Northwest right now. Please do be well. I hope you find spaces to cool yourself and enjoy the day. And I'm glad that you're here with us on Storytime today. Good morning to you out in Long Beach, Rocco, Clay, Chriselle, and of course, Great Grandpa June. Welcome to Storytime. Good morning to you, Miss Ingrid, out in Argentina. How are you doing today? And say yesterday's story was amazing. It is absolutely wonderful. Santo Nagara is out of this world. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you say you're excited for today's story and, of course, the rest of the stories that we have this week. And we have two amazing guests that will be coming, joining us tomorrow and another one on Friday. So do look out for those great guests. Great books await us all. Thank you so much. Good morning to you one more time. Amanda, West, how are you doing today? Sarah and Nathan, right on time. You say, in hot and sunny Illinois. Please do stay cool. Do stay comfortable. I am glad you're here with us today on Storytime. Good morning to you, Sarah and Nathan, and of course, Amanda West. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to get started with our book for today. This one is called Wings. It is written and illustrated by Christopher Myers. And we're reading this one with permission of Scholastic Inc. Good morning to you. And are you ready? All right. Here we go. Wings by Christopher Myers. Written and illustrated by Christopher Myers and read with permission of Scholastic Inc. All right. Wings. Look at that strange boy. Everyone from the neighborhood is pointing fingers and watching the sky. How's he doing that? They stretch their necks and shake their heads. Icarus Jackson, a new boy on my block, is flying above the rooftops. He is swooping and diving, looping past people's windows and over the crowd. I don't think he's strange. Icarus Jackson, the flyboy, came to my school last Thursday. His long, strong, proud wings followed wherever he went. The whole school was staring eyes and wagging tongues. They whispered about his wings and his hair and his shoes, like they whisper about how quiet I am. Our teacher complained that the other kids couldn't help but gawk and stare. He said that Icarus' wings blocked the blackboard and made it hard for the other students to pay attention. The teacher told Icarus to leave class until he could figure out what to do with his wings. He left the room quietly, dragging his feathers behind him. One boy snickered. At recess, the snicker grew into a giggle and spread across the playground. Soon all the kids were laughing at Icarus Jackson's useless wings. I thought that if he flew just once, everyone would stop laughing. Icarus looked up, flapped his wings a couple of times, then jumped into the air. Would that make everything okay? He swept through the schoolyard like a slow motion instant replay. But the other kids were not impressed. One girl grabbed the basketball. A boy stuffed the handball in his pocket. Somebody nagged. Nobody likes a show-off. Their words sent Icarus drifting into the sky, away from the glaring eyes and the pointing fingers. I waited for them to point back at me, and I watched Icarus float further and further away. Walking home from school, I knew how he felt, how lonely he must be. Maybe I should have said something to those mean kids. I ran through the streets with my eyes to the sky, searching the clouds for Icarus. He struggled to stay in the air. His wings drooped and his head hung low. He landed heavily on the edge of the building and sat with the pigeons. Pigeons don't make fun of people. No, they don't. A policeman passing by blew his whistle. You with the wings, come down from there. Stay yourself on the ground. You will get in trouble. You will get hurt. It seemed to me Icarus was already in trouble and hurt. Could the policeman put him in jail for flying? For being too different? When the neighborhood kids saw the policeman yelling at him, they exploded with laughter. Icarus dropped to the ground. Stop, I cried. Leave him alone. And they did. I called to Icarus, and he sailed closer to me. I told him what someone should have long ago. Your flying is beautiful. For the first time, I saw Icarus smile. At that moment, I forgot about the kids who had laughed at him and me. I was just glad that Icarus had found his wings again. Look at that amazing boy, I called to all the people on the street as I pointed to my new friend, Icarus, swirling through the sky. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that beautiful story. I certainly did. Yes, Christopher Myers delivers a classic with this one. Thank you so much for joining in. And a timely reminder, a constant reminder that, people will complain. Whatever we try, somebody who will not be impressed. There's always that one person that will be complaining, and it's just, we need the supports. We need to be our friends' supports out there and speak up like the God did in this book. maybe you're that voice that can help. So let us remember to stand up, always make sure that justice prevails. And it is not always going to be easy, but we can try. So thank you so much for joining in. And thank you to Christopher Myers for this wonderful message in this book. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you are staying okay where you are. Thank you for today's story, for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Wings by Christopher Myers. And of course, thank you to Scholastic Inc. for allowing us to share this book right here on Storytime. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again tomorrow when we're back with another exciting story. And tomorrow we will be reading For All, Para Todos, and we'll have our guest as well coming in today. My copy has actually not arrived. I only have a digital copy, so we will see tomorrow. We might be reading a digital copy of the book. Thank you so much for being here. Please remember, I think there's a very powerful message in here. Just the book, I love it. And there's a part where it says, I should have told him what somebody should have a long time ago. And I think we need that. We need to hear that. Let me just see if I can find it. But I thought it was a very powerful message. It says, I called to Icarus and he sailed closer to me. I told him what someone should have long ago. Your flying is beautiful. We need to hear that. We need somebody to tell us that our flying is beautiful. We need to tell us somebody celebrates our individuality. Yes, indeed, it is the differences that make us special. We cannot all be the same. And also just a reminder, as an educator, as we're out there going in the world, let's remember that not one shoe, not one shoe fits all. There's different people out there. And as communities, I hope that we can find ways to celebrate everybody, to include everybody, and also to learn about everybody else so that we can be more accepting and understanding of what our neighbors are going through. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this book. I love it. It has a powerful message, and it is indeed an enjoyable one as well. So thank you so much for being here. And let us see who else was joining in today and got to enjoy a little bit of that story. Thank you so much one more time, Chriselle, for joining us. Great Grandpa, June, Clay, and Rocco out in Long Beach. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you as well. How are you doing today, Miss Ingrid? I hope you enjoyed that story. Definitely a good one. And 2 more to come this week. Thank you so much. Great story, Terry, you say, and Abraham, you say we have to stand up for what is right. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. And it may not always be easy to stand up against that crowd, but we can try and we can do it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you're very welcome, Amanda, Baby Bia, Grandpa Dennis, Grandma Cindy. Thank you for joining us today. And yes, stand up and use your voice to help others make a difference. Thank you so much. Absolutely appreciate that. Inspirational story, you say, Lomani, Lee, and Carrie. It is indeed a beautiful story. And may you find your wings to always be yourself, always shine, always float, and enjoy life. Thank you so much for sharing that. Karen Wilkinson, how are you doing? Long time no see. Thank you so much for joining in on Storytime today. Yes, indeed. Your flying is beautiful. Thank you. And this goes to everybody out there. Remember that your flying is beautiful. You are beautiful. You are amazing. And you are loved. So thank you for showing us who you are. And we will celebrate you for that. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day today. Thank you for joining in this beautiful story. And I hope that this sets us off for a beautiful day, or indeed beautiful afternoon, or beautiful rest of the day, depending on where you are. Thank you so much for being here. Always appreciate you. Miss Ingrid, I'm glad you enjoyed that one. And yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining in today. Have a good rest of the day. To everybody that was joining in Story Time today, thank you. As always, big hugs from me, and I will see you tomorrow when we are back with our special guest and a wonderful book tomorrow. We're talking immigration. Yes, a big topic. Let's join in together and teach and learn from each other. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Story time. Story time. Story time with Mr. Lamada. He You will be starting soon. Story time with Mr. Limata, where all your dreams come true. He brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing.